Have you ever found yourself practicing over and over, but still feeling like you're stuck in the same spot?
Yeah, or like you're just spinning your wheels without real progress. I think we've all been there at some point.
Well, today's topic is all about finding out if there's a more effective way to practice, one that actually gets results. And stick around until the end because we'll introduce 10 powerful vocabulary words that are all about mastering any skill.
So, let's kick things off by exploring why some practice methods seem to work better than others, and what we might be missing when we practice the usual way.
Absolutely. We'll be sharing some surprising insights on how small tweaks in your practice routine can make a massive difference. So let's get into it. So, quick question, have you ever wondered why some people seem to improve so quickly when they practice, while others stay, well, stuck?
Right? It's like, what's the secret ingredient to effective practice? Today, we're diving deep into what makes practice matter and how you can make it work for you.
And make sure you stick around till the end because we'll be sharing 10 new vocabulary words to boost your English skills. So, Chris, let's kick it off. What's the deal with practice?
Good question. There's a big difference between just repeating something over and over versus actually improving. You've probably heard the saying, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. What you practice is what sticks.
Absolutely. It's not just about doing the same thing 100 times. It's about focusing, correcting, and growing each time. For example, when we're learning a new language, mindlessly repeating phrases won't make us fluent. We need deliberate, targeted practice.
Exactly, and this is where techniques like spaced repetition come in. Instead of cramming everything at once, you practice a bit each day, allowing your brain to absorb information gradually.
And then there's deliberate practice. It's not just doing but breaking down the skill into smaller parts and working on each one specifically. For example, if you're learning to play an instrument, it's about working on finger positioning, speed, and rhythm separately before putting them all together.
That's a game changer. And here's something to think about. Effective practice isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter.
And that's our takeaway from today's first session. Practice can transform your abilities if done right. And hey, if you're ready to dive into these strategies, we're just getting started.
Absolutely. Stay with us. And by the end, you'll also have 10 powerful vocab words under your belt. Let's move on to our next strategy.
Let's dive deeper into what really happens when we practice. Chris, ever wondered why some people get better faster while others seem stuck?
Yeah, it's like some people just have a talent for learning quickly, but is it really talent, or is there something else?
Great question. And that's exactly what we're exploring today, the science of effective practice. We'll unpack how our brains adapt and grow through practice. And here's the catch, why practicing longer isn't always better.
Ooh, now that's interesting. And everyone, stay with us till the end, because we'll review 10 key vocabulary words that will help you talk about practice in English.
Right. So, here's the thing about our brains. They're actually incredible at adapting. This concept, called neuroplasticity, is basically the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections. Every time you practice, these connections get stronger.
So it's kind of like building a muscle, right? The more you lift weights, the stronger the muscle gets.
Exactly. Chris, practicing a skill repeatedly strengthens those neural pathways. But here's where it gets even cooler. When you focus on quality practice, the brain learns more effectively.
Okay, so what exactly is quality practice? Just practicing with fewer mistakes?
Good thought. But quality practice is more than that. It's about breaking down a skill into smaller, manageable parts, focusing intensely on each one, and getting feedback along the way. Studies show this focused approach actually helps people improve faster.
Interesting. So it's not about the hours you put in, but about how you're practicing in those hours.
Exactly. And that's a common misconception. Many think that spending longer hours practicing will automatically lead to faster improvement. But often, short, focused sessions with regular breaks lead to better results.
So maybe those marathon study sessions I did in college weren't the best approach?
Probably not. Our brains need time to rest to retain information. Short, Focused practice sessions create better long-term results because the brain processes and consolidates new information during breaks.
All right, I think I'm sold on quality over quantity. So if someone's trying to learn English, what's one thing they can do to practice more effectively?
Good question. A great way to practice effectively is through spaced repetition. Instead of cramming vocabulary in one go, review words over several days. This method strengthens those connections in your brain and helps you remember more.
And there you have it. Practice smart, not just hard.
Let's talk about something so important when it comes to practicing effectively, building a practical, consistent routine. How many of you have started a new habit only to find it slipping away after a few days? Chris, I know we've both been there.
Oh, absolutely. Sophie, I think it's happened to everyone. I used to try taking on huge goals, thinking I could just muscle through sheer willpower. But, of course, a few weeks in, I'd just fizzle out. Now, I keep it small and steady, and it's really made a difference.
Totally relatable. And I had a similar experience too. I'd get this burst of motivation and think, this is it. I'm going to do it all. But, just like you, I learned that breaking down big goals into smaller steps and making them fit into my routine really helped.
Let's break down some strategies for our listeners to make routines more practical and achievable. So, first off, start small. It might sound obvious, but it's key. If you want to improve, say, your English vocabulary, commit to learning just one new word a day rather than trying to memorize 20 in one go. Trust me, it's a lot less overwhelming.
Exactly. And another tip is to set specific times for practice. When I started setting aside just 10 minutes a day for reading or speaking practice, it became so much easier to stick with. It's like I was telling my brain, okay, this is the time to focus. And it works.
That's a great point. I found that having accountability really helped me, whether it's a friend, a study buddy, or even just tracking your progress in a journal. Accountability can be a huge motivator.
And breaking big goals into micro goals is another lifesaver. Take learning a new language as an example. Instead of aiming to be fluent in 6 months, you could focus on mastering simple conversations first. Those micro goals make the whole thing feel so much more manageable.
Absolutely. And if you're feeling like you're not progressing, just look back at those small wins. It's easy to lose sight of how much you've achieved, especially when the goal seems far away. But if you can remind yourself of those little victories, it keeps you going.
For sure. And to our listeners, think of consistency as the secret ingredient. Even 5 minutes a day can add up over time. Like we always say, slow and steady wins the race.
So, what about you guys? How do you stay consistent with your goals? Let us know in the comments because we'd love to hear your tips too.
I'm sure many of us have faced those dreaded plateaus. You know, when you feel like you're putting in the effort, but the progress just stops?
Oh, I've been there. It's like running on a treadmill. You're moving, but not going anywhere. So frustrating. But, funnily enough, plateaus are actually part of the growth process.
Exactly. Plateaus happen because our brains are actually pretty smart. Once we repeat something enough, our brains get more efficient, and so we stop seeing the big leaps in progress we got at the beginning. This is especially true with things like language learning, fitness, or music.
Right, and instead of beating ourselves up, we can use some strategies to break through. For example, I recently started studying Japanese, and I hit a big plateau after the basics. I realized I had to switch things up to make progress again.
That's a great example. Switching up your routine can really shake things up. I actually added flashcards and a speaking buddy to my practice, which helped me stay engaged and push through that stuck phase.
Such a good tip, and there's something powerful about adding small, new challenges. Even a slight change in approach can get your brain to re-engage with the task.
Absolutely. And then there's also the motivation side, keeping that why in mind. Sometimes, we get so wrapped up in the daily grind that we forget why we're doing it in the first place.
Yes, revisiting our motivations can reignite that initial excitement, and sometimes it's okay to take a short break. The mind and body need time to absorb all the new things we're learning, so giving ourselves rest can actually help prevent burnout.
Love that, Chris. So to recap, plateaus are normal, and they're a sign we're making progress. We just need to be flexible, add in a new challenge, or even take a pause to recharge. All of these things can help keep us moving forward. All right, everyone, we promised you some keywords to power up your practice game, and now it's time to get into them. Let's start with our first word, and remember, feel free to repeat after us to get that muscle memory working. First up, we have persistence. So, say it with us. Persistence. Great! Persistence means sticking with something, even when it gets tough. Think of it as the strength to keep going. For example, even after failing many times, her persistence helped her finally master the piano. Perfect! Next, we've got consistency. Ready? Consistency. This one is all about showing up regularly. Consistency means doing something over and over, like practicing a language every day. Here's a sentence. His consistency in studying led to impressive improvements over time. Here's a cool one. Deliberate. Everyone. Deliberate. Deliberate practice means focusing on improving specific areas with purpose. It's not about practicing mindlessly, like. Her deliberate approach to training helped her improve specific techniques faster. Now let's try. Plateau. Say it with us. Plateau. When you hit a plateau, you're not seeing improvement. Even if you keep practicing, it's like you're stuck. A good example. He hit a plateau in his running speed and had to change his training routine to improve. Another great one. Repetition. Repeat after us. Repetition. Repetition is just repeating something until it sticks. It's all about building familiarity. For example, repetition in learning vocabulary helps it stick in long-term memory. Here's a bit of a different one. Visualization. Repeat after us. Visualization. Visualization means imagining success in your mind to help make it a reality. Athletes often use it. Here's an example. By visualizing his success, he felt more confident going into the match. Almost there. Our next word is motivation. Repeat after us. Motivation. Motivation is what drives us to keep going. Sometimes it's internal, like your goals, or external, like rewards. Here's a sentence. Her motivation to learn came from wanting to help others in her community. Now let's try. Micro goals. Ready? Micro goals. These are small goals that lead to bigger achievements. For example, breaking her study routine into micro goals helped her stay focused and achieve her daily targets.
Second last one. Adaptation. Repeat after us. Adaptation.
Adaptation means adjusting to new challenges or changing your approach, like. His adaptation to a new learning strategy helped him overcome obstacles quickly.
And finally, we have the brainy one. Neuroplasticity. Repeat after us. Neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity refers to our brain's ability to change and adapt. A fun example. Thanks to neuroplasticity, she was able to develop new skills even later in life.
Awesome work, everyone. We hope these words help keep your practice sessions strong and steady. Now, let's wrap things up.
All right, everyone. So we've covered a lot today, haven't we? From setting specific goals to making our practice sessions more engaging and manageable. I hope you found some useful tips to apply to your own learning routines.
Yes, And it's a good reminder that practice doesn't have to be grueling to be effective. With a bit of structure, creativity, and the right mindset, it can actually be something to look forward to.
Absolutely. So, listeners, why not take one of the methods we discussed and test it out this week? See if it makes a difference in how you approach learning.
And remember, every small improvement adds up. Don't feel pressure to change everything at once. Just try one tip and see where it takes you.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We're looking forward to hearing how these strategies work for you. Let us know.
And as always, happy learning and practicing. We'll see you in the next episode.
This is the end of today's episode, but remember, learning English doesn't stop here. There's so much more to explore, so make sure to check out our other episodes to keep your English journey going. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and stay updated with our latest lessons. Keep practicing, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next episode. Happy learning!